When I was about 8 or 9 years old, my grandma would come over to my house while my parents were still at work, and she would force me to sit down at the kitchen table before I ran off to go watch television. I was in 4th grade, and I remember that we were learning how to convert improper fractions into mixed numbers. I was stuck on a hard problem, so I asked my grandma for help, but she said that she had no idea what I was talking about, and that she never learned about that when she was my age. As I grew older, I started to reminisce on this story, and I started to wonder what else is being taught now that wasn't taught in the earlier ages of education. Today, I'll be explaining the history of before, the beginning, and education now. We will start with what people did when schools did not exist. So, Peter Gray wrote an article called The Brief History of Education, and he states that before education existed, humans taught themselves. Children in hunter-gatherer cultures learned what they needed to know how to become effective adults through just observing and play and exploration. The invention of agriculture sets in motion a whirlwind of changes in people's ways of living. As agriculture increased, people could produce more food, and so they were able to have more children. The children were forced into labor and started working at a very young age inside the house to take care of their siblings while their parents were out harvesting. Children started to go from being able to do what interested them to spending most of their time working on the farm fields. In the Middle Ages, when society started to form kings and lords at the top of the social class and slaves at the bottom, children were considered as servants. Children started to become slaves and servants to those who were landowners. The lessons that children had to learn were obedience, how to hold back their own feelings or being humble, and how to show respect for their masters. There were no rules against beating children into acceptance of their jobs. So how did child labor begin into children education? Well, as child labor started to decrease, people realized that childhood should be used for learning. The 2019 encyclopedia states that schools for children started to be developed as places to learn. The idea of children learning was gradually developed in Europe in about the early 16th century to the 19th century. This idea had many supporters, but of course everyone had their own inputs on what order the lessons should be taught. Educational experience started to become more and more complex. This format of learning in a formal atmosphere allowed children to learn far more culture than they learned from just observing. Martin Luther proclaimed that salvation depended on each person's own reading of scriptures. Similar to what he said was a rule that each person must learn to read and learn the scriptures. The scriptures represented the truths and morals of how salvation depended on those truths. In the 17th century, the state of Massachusetts was the very first colony to mandate schooling. The main focus of this was to turn children into good Puritans. As nations became more centralized, national leaders saw schooling as a way to create good patriots and future soldiers. When reformers were being added who truly care about children, they saw school as a place to protect children. They also realized that children should learn moral lessons and math so that they could exercise their minds and turn them into future scholars. Everyone involved in the founding, they all saw a clear view on what lessons children should learn in school. They believed that no matter what social class the students were in, they should all learn the same exact thing. Now that we know how child education was started, let's look at how it has advanced from then to now throughout time. A fun fact by the American Board blog is that early public schools in the U.S. did not focus on the main academics, what we do today, but they focused on the virtues of family, religion, and communication. The schooling became a more popular and became viewed as children's work. The same power assertive methods that were being used on the farming field were being used in the classrooms. Repetition and memorization of lessons was boring for children and went against their natural instincts to have fun and explore. Just as children had a hard time adapting easily into laboring in fields and factories, they had a hard time ready to start with schooling. This was not surprising for any of the adults. And by this time in history, the idea of children's willfulness was basically ignored and forgotten. People believed that in order for the children to generally learn in school, their willfulness had to be beaten out of them. Punishing the children were understood as a natural part of the educational process. In some schools, children were allowed only certain times to have recess. This was to allow them to let off steam. Recess was considered the enemy of learning. Now teachers are more laid back and science is always advancing, math is getting more complicated, and history is always being made. If the future students pay attention in class, they could become genuine scholars. Education has gone from child labor in factories and farms to the education that we have nowadays. The education that we go through is what gives us the jobs and degrees that we have today and what we're working towards. So if you have experience not understanding something that another generation has learned, just remember, education is always advancing, so it's okay. If needed, the student can go to a younger generation for tutoring, and we really do take our educational system for granted.